listen, if you're doing with authenticity, you're gonna make more figures.
Yeah.
That's real.
Hi Louis, thank you ever so much for coming to Cityscape. Obviously, lots of people who are watching this and listening to this, they know you as an incredibly successful elite sportsman, footballer, Premier League star, and more. But, you know, I'm coming from a perspective of being an events organizer, of being on the other side of the talent and trying to attract the talent to come to our events. So I'd like to talk to you about that. And I want to start off by asking you, you know, what's the worst event you've ever attended, and why was it so bad? Okay.
I'm not the one that's gonna actually say bad things about an event, but I've seen quite many. So in so many different ways where I arrive and I don't feel like I have participated correctly, where I felt like I didn't understood the mission, where I felt almost or too much used without any kind of a compensation. So all those type of events are not great when it could be an enormous event with a lot of people, but you don't get proper connection. Where it's a small one, where you have conversation, but you don't feel like they understand the potential that they have to do things together, even if it's a small gathering. So those are the worst events. It's just like where there is no call to action or simple one, no clear message or simple message. So I am someone who is very passionate about giving something to the next generation. If I feel like a lot of people are in the same place and they don't work towards that, it's very frustrating.
It's really interesting from an event perspective, from an event organizer's perspective. Mm-hmm. We dread things like low turnout, poor build, you know, not delivering what we promised in terms of the experience. Mm-hmm. And I was almost expecting you to say, I went to an event and it wasn't built and there was only 3 people in the audience or something. But you've touched upon something which I think is very interesting for me to explore a bit further. You've been to events which have been great, but you felt used, potentially like an asset rather than somebody who's engaging with, you know, people and has a purpose of being there. Is that very important to you? Is that important to talent, do you think?
Yeah, it is very important because we are done with the, let's say, marketing side of it. Like when you do some events, you may want to address one topic in particular. It could be impact or, you know, racism or anything that you really touch or affiliated with, and you feel like, okay, the topic has been addressed, but there is no call to action. Mm-hmm. There is no solution. There is no real debate that's going to help the conversation go to one point to another. Mm-hmm. So all those things say, okay, I addressed a topic, but nothing's going to be done here. Mm-hmm. So I wasted my time. So my energy, it's very important because when you're fighting, if you keep throwing punches with no real opponent to you, you're not going to win any game. And that's basically what I felt sometimes. So having a sense of like getting conversation that makes sense, it's very, very important for me. Yeah.
So rather than feeling as a transactional person that comes, speaks, leaves, nothing happens afterwards, there's no, as you say, call to action, no outcome. You're looking then as, you know, talent as such, okay, that people are looking for, forgive the term, okay, but you're looking for actually something that's going to have impact. So you personally are looking for something that's going to have some impact on a cause that you care about.
I think so. I think I speak for me, but I'm sure by talking to many other players, it is the same. It's how we can have an impact. They want to build something, whatever the venture is about, something, you know, better than the opponent or some other companies. So how we can improve? And if you feel like the whatever organization has put people together, and at the end you don't have a call to action to network or to sign anything or something like this, it could be frustrating. Because I am someone who's now experienced that for 10 years. Someone who is new, who is like maybe 2 years on the line, is going to say, okay, that's part of the process. I learn to know, to identify people or whatever. That's not my situation now. Yeah. I want to go fast. I want to have impact. I just had a daughter. She's one. I want to see a future better than what we see on social media. Yeah. I want solution. I want people who want to address things in the correct way, not just using my name because I had a career or something like this. I just won't stay for long. I want to see, as I see here, a lot of people who want to develop things, having new ideas. Innovation is not just a word. There is purpose and representing something where the country go to one place to another, having developed a new, let's say, culture or open their mind. All those things make sense to me, and I want to be part of that message.
I think that is very interesting from a what we would call speaker acquisition perspective, okay, or talent acquisition perspective. There's a whole industry out there of people that represent speakers, and and many of them are former sports stars, movie stars, politicians, and it's just a transaction. They'll say it's $250,000 for that person to come and they'll meet X amount of people and they'll do this and they'll speak at this time and they'll go, okay, and that's a very transactional way of doing it. And I think some events organisers, I don't decry them for this, because actually they have a big social media following and they want the brand association.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think what you're saying is there could be a different approach.
Definitely.
So if my speaker acquisition team were to do their homework on you, and they were to find out the causes that were actually, that actually mattered to you a lot, they were able to write to you and give a proper description about what the outcomes could be, what the meetings would be, why it would be worth your time. Are you saying that would be worth more than money?
Definitely in some ways, because this is a balance. You need to find a way where you're not getting this sensation of being used because you have been attracted by certain topics. It won't work either. Yeah. But it's about finding the right balance and say, okay, if we work as a partner, where you want to bring some people inside this venue, I can help. If you want to have a bit of not only a lot of people coming to the venue, but people really want to address this topic in a certain way, having proper action, proper solutions. Yes, I'm not here to promote something and just waste the time of anybody in the audience. Mm-hmm. If you're really prepared to talk and do something, yes, come. This is where I'm going to be very passionate. And I think, yes, if I get the right fee and the right result at the end, it's a win-win for everybody. Yeah. At this moment in times where it's too transactional, it helps. I would say the agent or the agency is good. They're making more money. They actually put their client from one place to another. Okay, but at the end, they don't build anything. Yeah. There is no solution. Maybe there is promotion, but it's like putting a post, a sponsorship, saying, I was here, or it's Nike board or whatever brand, and maybe people see it, but the brands, do you know if they consume after? I'm not so sure. It's the same. Yeah. So those guys are passengers, and no one really take, control of those elements, and I think it's 30 to 40% wasted.
We do, when we're not dealing with people with a very high profile, famous people who have had a elite sports history or acting or political history or something like this, we have a whole team of people that spend all of their time. They'll spend maybe 200 hours calling people in the industry and saying, we want to do a topic on machine learning in oil and gas trade. Who's doing the most amazing things at the moment on this? And that person who works in that for 30 years ago, oh, it's Bill from this company, or it's Ahmed from that company, all right? And we start to aggregate who the best people are, and then we invite them to come and speak on the on the event. We do that as research, and that actually tailors a really interesting group of people because they are considered by their peers as being sort of excellent. My question, to you regarding that is, when you become a big name, when you become famous, it's almost inverse. You talked about earlier with me about almost being treated as an asset. It's almost like I imagine a lot of people just recognise you for who you were, or what you did at one particular moment of time. They would introduce you as the former Manchester United player rather than as what you're doing at this very moment. How important is that relevance that people have? Or you, actually, I did amazing things in my career and I'm very happy to go and meet the fans and talk about that as well. How do you make a decision in your life between, continuing to monetize and look back at the past versus paving a way to doing something new and creating a legacy and something completely new?
This is a great question. In some way, it's to always find the balance. Where you put too much transaction in your mind, it kills the authenticity. You need to have the connection with your, let's say, friends and family and all that. If you speak about money, it's the wrong things to put on the table. It's about emotion, how you can help each other, grow each other. So it's the same. I think here it's, okay, I had a chance to be a football player. It was my dream. I met a lot of people. I created a fan base. Wherever I go, people can respect about what I've done. But now I want to use those keys, those tools in some way, this expertise to do my next thing. My next thing is to help. If it was maybe business or real estate or whatever, I want to still meet people, and I will use this, obviously, key that I have. But I think in some way, if I'm saying that every single people around me, it's all about transaction, I think in our society, we're killing the game. I am saying it because where you have at the very top a chairman in a company, is going to say to you, I want better numbers, I want better figures. My shareholders is asking more. Who are you going to hire? You're going to hire someone who is very aggressive, who is way more like a shark, and is going to do maybe more damage even to your brand. At some point, it's just like going into that edge all the time. And you say, hang on a minute, maybe there is a way of restructuring those thoughts and say, if you're doing authentic, if you're doing proper, I'm telling you, people will buy into your project. It's just like how we can use those new values, so spread by maybe sportsmen like me, like artists like me, or like others that have succeeded, and say, listen, if you're doing with authenticity, you're gonna make more figures. That's real. And this is about finding the balance. You can't just like being too nice and thinking that we're living in a happy world. That's not the case. We have to actually implement those strategies and talking correctly about almost like social ventures. Okay, how we can get our audience, our clients, really buying into our product, whatever it is. It could be buildings, it could be nutrition or media, is the same.
I just want to finish by asking you about how you've been treated at various events. We've talked about the approach bringing you in, and we've talked about how you've left sometimes feeling that it didn't provide what you wanted. But one of the things that really matters to us, particularly to Halaf, we do a lot of events in Saudi, or we do almost all of our events in Saudi Arabia. Saudi culture demands that guests are treated really well, okay, and so we put a lot of effort into when international guests are flying in to try and treat them as well as we can. Whether that's at the airport or being driven here or being looked after at the show and shown around and treated well. I'm sure we could do things better, but from your perspective, you've been all over the world. You've had all kinds of experiences. What have you learnt on the receiving end that you think is really good practice that I can let my team know, that could tell people who work in the events trade to do more of when they're dealing with people like you?
I think basically, I'm sure that you guys and any company that represents Saudi Kingdom, the way at the very top they want to implement something where we can attract new people, new business. It comes from the very, very top, willing to really address this and say, okay, how we can change maybe the perspective from outside. Those people maybe thinking in a certain way. We can really have this strategy understood throughout the country. So you have a big role, like any other events have a big role, because when they receive or host some guests, it's very important because those guys have a role to spread the word. Oh, I'm being treated perfectly, it was unbelievable, it was sunny and the food was great. I think that's very important. I can say personally, clearly, that I really understood that there is innovation and a desire to really change the perspective, really understand that this country is amazing or this region is amazing, open to innovation. That's why I'm even thinking about moving into the region, because I really do like the respect, the balance that I said. Yeah. Okay, we can have certain type of facility with funding or all those things. We can have access to different amazing events, sport-wise. It's brilliant. So all this it's very powerful, but it comes from the very top, and this has been clearly understood by sportsmen. You can see it. Like many of those guys come in and they spread the right words. Everyone say, okay, it's maybe the region you should go, and I understand it. So events like this is very, very important.
We had at a previous event, Thierry Henry came to one of our events, and he wasn't really supposed to stay for very long. He couldn't make it for very long, but he stayed much longer, and I think it's because he was so surprised at how well they treated him. So.
It's the same. I am thinking about that. My wife, she's at the hotel, but she's saying to me, "Oh, we can stay one more day," and that's brilliant. And not just because of what is being promoted. Yeah. It's just like you can feel the authenticity, as I said to you. Yeah. Yeah. You say, "Okay, I can sense this desire to really change the some parameters that maybe on the West they could have."
So that's it then. It's about expressing purpose, and it's about being authentic. Okay.
Oh, that's so important.
Then you've got it.
So important.
Louis, thank you very much.
Thank you.